This is Farmer Tony, and we're going to go off and do some work on his soil because we want to know what's going on there and we can record it through our microbiometer. Hi Farmer Tony, tell us a little bit about this land here so that the people can understand what's going on here. So go on.
Okay, we get about 300 millimetre per year, maybe 350 at a really good year. You see the rock in front of us, not the big line of rock that's over a telephone line that I've had to run from my back boundary. And that's standard. That rock there is what is underneath our soil. So we've got very limited amount of topsoil in a lot of areas.
That doesn't look to me like volcano rock.
No, that's limestone.
Limestone. You got limestone everywhere.
And sheet limestone underneath the whole lot. Bad farming
underneath?
practices in the past has led to a lot of drift of sandy soil like we've got just in front of us that's blowing over the hills where they've been working back in summertime where there's no rain, nothing to hold it together. It's actually quite disgusting the way the country's been farmed in the past around here.
And I noticed that farmers are insisting using the obsolete models of farming and product range. And this is, I think, one of our key problems of where we are right now, and that is another 5 to 10 years we've got a 40% decrease on the current range of foods, fresh foods.
Yep.
We are having a food shortage around the world, and there's a lot more to talk about that.
Our organic carbon has dropped to almost nothing right across the country. It's just a shame.
A shame. So this farm here is an interesting one. It's got limestone on it, and here they call this, I'll get out of the light, this is sheet rock. And Tony, tell me a little bit about this. Tell me what's so good about having a little bit of that. That's a bit of good luck, isn't it?
Well, it's bad luck that I've purchased property where their farming practices has allowed the erosion, wind erosion over the years to expose the rock. So basically the topsoil's gone. Where I've still got a little bit of soil over the top of it, we can be lucky if we only get a very, very light rainfall at the start of the season. The water has nowhere to go below, so you do get a good germination. But your moisture retention in that later in the season is very, very poor. So any dry run then, the crops are going to go up fairly quickly. And it just comes down to old farming practices that are just crazy. I just can't understand why they did that in the past.
Yes, and I'm just going to do a close-up of so people can understand how dry this soil is. So just even looking at that, it's just flying away. There's nothing holding it together. And this is why we go around to speak to farmers to show them another way so that can be covered and held together with the living microbes, and that's what we do. So
many farmers are still trying to crop on this sort of stuff and just making the erosion even worse. So
what would they be using if they don't know about earth food?
Normal old fertilisers, and you're basically just growing on that rubbish. So imagine what nutrition you've got in your end product at the end of the day.
And it kills your soil biome, kills your worms, kills the soil, and some of the other products that they put on there are literally to desiccate. So that means to dry it out even more. So go figure, how does that work out? Anyway, clearly it doesn't. So what do we got here, Tony? What's going on?
So this is the area where I put the wood chips from rehabilitating the side of the road years ago. Mm-hmm. And people said, it won't make any difference. You can see this is where the wood chips, remnants of it, still on top of the soil, and this is where the best growth is in this paddock. This has always been my worst paddock, my least productive by a long way. However, having said that, it's the one spot that the stock come and thrash first and foremost, and they just won't leave it alone compared to the rest of the paddock. And I think it's lack of nitrogen in the soil that's making the foods more palatable, even though there's a reduced quantity there. So
different makeup of the fibre in the plants.
Yeah. So remember, we've had almost no rain whatsoever this summer. Probably about 8, maybe 12 mils.
12 mils.
Having said having said that, we've still got
Look at that.
carbon in there, root growth. And I've done many courses over the years, and I've learnt that for every tonne of carbon that you're growing on top of the soil, there's usually about 3 tonne underneath, and the scientists don't seem to want to discuss that. So it looks like it's just sand when you do that until you look at the edges of where you're digging, and then you go, oh my God, there's a fair bit of carbon in there, isn't there? And that's from the roots. And that applies to trees as well.
So we're going to get some soil from here.
Is that deep enough for you?
That'll be fine. And we're going to get our microbiometer out, and we'll be doing a little reading, and I'll let you know how that goes. So Farmer Tony's deciding he's going to take a second sample, which is in this area. Just describe this area for me, please, Tony.
Okay, this had a history of natural and organic fertilisers for a few years, and for the last 6-7 years it's been synthetic fertilisers. You can see by the country here when they cut hay, and I've got to say this year they cut higher than what they normally do. Normally after they raked it with their new hay rakes, there's nothing left on top. It's just bare apart from the tiny little bit, which once again shows the importance then of what's underneath the plant. So compared to the other site we just looked at,
get out in the shade. There we are.
where's your root structure?
Yeah, around.
2/5 of bugger all root structure.
I was going to say, it's looking
Compared
like
to
the
that
last
other
one.
side.
Yeah, the last
Yep.
one we had roots everywhere. Now look at this.
And there's greater thickness of plants on top, but root structure underneath, it doesn't need to develop root structure because it's got synthetic fertilisers readily available. Now look at this, flimsy.
Nothing there. Look at that. So this
So
is
that's the
the
difference.
big difference. So on Tony's property, the first test, we have where he's looked after it and fed the soil, whereas
organic.
with organic, and this one here has just had synthetic, and this is what we're getting across farmlands around the world. And the reason why farmers cannot hardly grow a thing is because there's nothing in there, and the more chemicals they need to be able to grow things. So
There's
this is
no organic carbon left in the soil in the synthetic fertilised areas. That's the problem. That's why their inputs continue to get higher and higher and higher all the time. They're producing less root.
That's right. And the food that's grown in this way has very little nutritional value. And that's all been proven. One of the biggest diagnoses these days is scurvy, lack of vitamin C, because the ultra processed foods are taking over our tables at our meals, and the fresh food that's grown in these kinds of environments do not have the living microbes, and they are the point of difference because they make the trace minerals and selenium. And any naturopath will tell you that you need your magnesium, your iron, your all the others, zinc. That all comes from the soil. Your health comes from the ground up. If there's no health in the soil, there's no health in you.